On today's edition of The Front Row, we are at the Texas Tech University School of Music in the office of Dr. Christopher Smith, who is the director and the founder of the Vernacular Music Center here at Texas Tech. And is one of the people that I respect so much because I think he knows everything. It doesn't matter whether it's Baroque, classical, or Romantic literature, or contemporary literature, or whether it's older music or it's vernacular music, whatever it is, Chris knows. And that's why I love to talk to you. Chris, welcome back to the Front Row.
Thanks, Clint. It's always happy to be here.
Well, you have a concert coming up with the Tech Folk Orchestra.
We do.
And so I'm guessing because it has folk in the title that it must be associated with your Vernacular Music Center, right?
It is. It is, yeah. The Tech Folk Orchestra began as the TTU Celtic Ensemble, which some of your listeners may recall. Yeah. And over the years, because Texas Tech is a big band, choir, and orchestra school, I had students who came to me who said, oh, well, I really want to play in the Celtic Ensemble, but I play trumpet or trombone or saxophone. I don't play the right instrument for Celtic music. And that made me start thinking about just the idea of expanding the instrumental complement of the orchestra, of the ensemble, so that it could accommodate winds and brass players as well as traditional instrument players. And so over the years, I just began this kind of experiment, which has been going on 11 or 12 years now, I would say, to ask myself, what would an orchestra playing true folkloric music, hardcore folkloric music, what would that sound like? Or what would an orchestra full of traditional musicians sound like? And that led me to creating arrangements and using very traditional repertoire from old recordings or field recordings or wax cylinders and all kinds of sources or things that I know from my own folkloric music making, but putting it in the form of a chamber orchestra for winds, brass, strings, percussion, voices, and dancers. And so that's what the Tech Folk Orchestra is. And that's kind of how it came into being. And this concert on Monday the 30th in Hemley Hall is our spring concert with that orchestra.
Yeah. You know, if I can just comment on that a little bit, I love how this has had an evolution, how it's grown, because leadership is so important, and that just shows how you have, as a musicologist, have grown yourself and opened all these doors and for yourself, and then opened these doors for your students to do more than just Celtic or just Balkan or just something else, but you've grown all this time. And that says so much, Chris, about you and your thoughts and your development.
Well, I think actually, I mean, it's kind of you to say that, but I think actually it's one of the things that I like best about university teaching. There are many things about university teaching that are challenging. Always, there are things that are about university teaching that are challenging right now. But one of the things that I have really appreciated about university teaching at Texas Tech, and specifically within the School of Music and the College of Visual and Performing Arts, is that the space to follow up on ideas. We want our students to follow up on ideas. Hey, I have this idea that maybe I want to play the euphonium, or I have this idea that maybe I want to get a master's degree, or I have this idea that maybe I would enjoy being a music librarian. And what I believe very deeply about a university is that it should be universally possible for people to follow up on ideas, to expand their horizons, to follow up on their curiosity. And so what I've appreciated here in the School of Music and in the college is that there's been support for the Vernacular Music Center to provide that element in the world of folkloric musics and dance. Balkan music, historical music, music from around the world, African music, so-called Celtic music. The idea that we live in a big world of music and that it is appropriate and it's in fact enriching. It makes us richer if we are encouraged to follow up on our curiosity and see how it might expand our horizons.
Yeah. Well, you certainly have an enthusiastic group of folks that are ready to play. And so tell us a little bit, concert coming Monday night, is that right?
The concert is Monday, March the 30th in Hemley Recital Hall at 8 p.m. It's a concert which will feature a couple of guest artists. I decided to do something kind of throwback with this concert. We're playing music from France and Scotland and England and Ireland and a Scandinavian piece and some original pieces. But we are also playing 3 historical pieces. And when I say historical, I mean that historically They are pieces that Dr. Mariani and I began playing around 1981. And we are playing them. Dr. Mariani is a guest on the concert. She's going to sing some songs at this concert on Monday, the 30th. And we are bringing in a guest, musical guest from New England, who's a fiddle player and singer, a man named Lawrence Young, who is my most historical musical collaborator, because I began playing music with Larry Young, I think, in 1970. And so Larry and I have been playing music together for well over 50 years. And Larry and Angela and I have been playing music together off and on since 1981. And in 1983, we released a vinyl EP, back from those of you who remember when vinyl was the latest format, of which we still have some copies in our garage, and which I will be happy to do show and tell at the concert. We were playing 3 pieces from the repertoire of that ensemble, which was called Renardine, which we founded around 1981 as a trio. So it's Larry and Angela and Chris with the Tech Folk Orchestra as the backing band, playing some of these songs from the repertoire of Renardine, along with TFO songs and tunes and instrumental dances.
Right. Now, and I'm guessing that this is a lot of work on your part, because you have whoever's signed up in your class, and that's what you have to work with. And so I'm guessing that's been a lot of time spent on arranging and putting together a concert instrumentally that will, that you will fit that. And so I'm guessing this is the culmination of a lot of work on your part.
It is a lot of work by a lot of people. The ensemble, they're very accepting of me. I say, hey, let's go in this crazy direction, and they're like, okay, here we go again. But there is a real esprit de corps. It's a self-selecting ensemble. Students who come from all across the campus, as well as from within the School of Music. We have everybody from first-year students to doctoral students. So it's quite unique in that respect, because we have really a wide range of skill sets. And so, my job as the leader is, in part, to find a place and a role and make it function musically. But it's also been kind of an ongoing musical experiment, to kind of have a laboratory, to ask myself, what would a folk orchestra sound like? Not an orchestra playing folk music.
Right, yeah.
But an orchestra that operated according to the aesthetics and priorities and the community values of a folk ensemble, but in a full chamber orchestra. Yeah. So about 11 or 12 years now of a lot of arranging, but also just a lot of thinking and collaboration and evolution. Because I think that's another thing that's really valuable in a university situation, is that you can try something and then you can evolve it. You can teach a course and say, I'm going to evolve it next time, or play a program, or play a piece and say, I'm going to evolve it next time. I've got to adapt it for different instrumentation.
Right, yeah.
So it's very much, the repertoire is very much an evolving, living thing.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that the 2022 band is different than the 2026 band, and the 2027 band will be different after that. And that, to me, that's also kind of evidence of a sort of a living tradition.
Right. Do the students play on their own instruments, modern instruments?
They do. They mostly play. We do have a small instrumentarium. We do have students who play on folkloric instruments. A lot of times they're music majors who are playing on an orchestral or jazz instrument, but they're picking up the tin whistle, or they're picking up the accordion, or they're picking up an instrument other than their main instrument, because they find that an interesting challenge. But the concept of the group is essentially to say to any student who wants to play or sing or dance or otherwise contribute, there is a place for you within this Vernacular Music Center ensemble. So we actually are now working with some students from the class Theater and Dance in the Community, and they're working as designers and costume designers, and they're developing projections for us, and they're doing video documentary work for us, because it's the Vernacular Music Center is really intended to be an umbrella and a kind of launch pad for collaboration.
Right.
Collaboration within the School of Music, collaboration beyond the School of Music.
And so the concert on Monday night will have instrumental music, singing, and dancing?
Yep.
All right. And and you have people who can put all of that together.
We do. And sometimes I ask the students to stretch.
Yeah.
And sometimes I say to them, look, I'm really stretching myself here. This is barely within my wheelhouse, but let's try it. We certainly want it to be an environment in which everybody feels it is safe and appropriate to try something they haven't done before. We have we can have the resiliency to sort of expand and contract and evolve and morph. Larry Young on fiddle and vocals. Larry Young is one of the town musicians of the historic town of Salem, Massachusetts. He's a specialist in colonial American music, and he'll be playing the fiddle and singing. Angela Mariani is going to sing a song, and it's them and myself and the Tech Folk Orchestra Monday, March 30th in Hemley Recital Hall at 8 p.m.
Great. Christopher Smith, our guest on the front row today. Thank you so much for being our guest.
My pleasure.